I'm Anthony Antoine. Welcome to Houston Live and Local. We have a lot to get to here today, starting with this breaking news on your screen. We got an emergency landing at Hobby Airport here in Texas, in Houston. Southwest sent us this statement so far. So here's what we know. Southwest Airlines Flight 3006 landed safely at William P. Houston Hobby Airport this morning after returning due to a reported engine issue. So you can see there the passengers from this flight. The crew followed procedure, they say, and assisted all 134 passengers in evacuating the aircraft. You see them there on the tarmac. You see the buses all lined up, ready to take them to safety. Southwest is working to accommodate the customers to their final destination, which was Cabo San Lucas in Mexico. So they were hoping for a fun vacation, but things took a turn. But gladly, they are all safe. The airport reports a small grass fire caused by the engine issue as well. So good to see those. Here we go. This is another live look now of that airport. Things seem to be moving along to some degree when it comes to flights, but certainly interesting situation there happening at Hobby Airport earlier today. Again, 134 passengers heading to Cabo, hoping for a fun vacation, but the flight landed. If you had an emergency landing. We'll have more on this, though, later on in the day. All right, let's get back here local. So today, the story that everyone's been talking about now for about 2 weeks now is this case out of Frisco, right? The parents of the 17-year-old Texas student, Karmelo Anthony, accused of killing Austin Metcalf at a track meet, spoke this morning. So let's take a look at some of the video here. So this comes just days after Karmelo Anthony's release from jail on a $250,000 bond, where he was placed on house arrest. Now the judge was asked to lower that bond and complied. Now remember, this all stems from a stabbing earlier this month where Anthony allegedly stabbed 17-year-old Austin Metcalf in the heart in a fight over where he was sitting. Now I should also mention Metcalf has a twin brother, and his twin brother was there as well and witnessed the whole thing. Now, Karmelo Anthony is claiming self-defense after Metcalf physically went after him. Now, Jeff Metcalf, Austin's father, refused to leave the public press conference until police escorted him out here this morning. And the family's pastor addressed that issue first and then went on to criticize the family's GoFundMe account. So right now, let's take a listen to Karmelo's mom, though.
My name is Kayla Hayes. I am the mother of Karmelo Anthony. 3 years ago, my family moved to North Texas searching for a better life. Like so many other families, we wanted to give our children the future we did not have. My husband worked hard every single day to provide for us, to make sure we're in the best financial position possible. As a stay-at-home mom, I made it my life's mission to ensure our children are loved, nurtured, and supported every step of the way. In wake of this tragic incident, our family has been under attack. Whatever you think what happened between Karmelo and the Metcalf boys, my 3 younger children, my husband, and I didn't do anything to deserve to be threatened, harassed, and lied about. The lies and false accusations that have been said about us, especially over the past week, has been overwhelming. The lies and their amplification put my family in danger, as well as everyone in our community, everyone involved in the investigation, from the police, the attorneys, and the court staff. Our address and my husband's previous employer's address has been put on all social media platforms. My husband had to take a leave of absence because he's afraid what may happen to our family. His mental health is deteriorating day by day. We have endured death threats. My 13-year-old daughter is afraid to sleep in her own bedroom because she's fearful of what may happen to her. And let me be clear, the claims that were used about the public donation to buy a home or anything else are completely false. We have not received a single dime from the Give, Send, Go fundraiser. And the co-founder has stated that clearly. In the reality, We were just notified yesterday that we could begin to withdraw funds. And it still takes several days to receive those funds once a request is made. I don't know why we are being targeted and discriminated against before a fair trial. Our son deserves the same rights under the law that everyone is afforded to. He's been raised in a 2-parent home with structure, stability, love, and we put God first in everything that we do. We believe in the Constitution, we believe in the laws of this state, but those laws must apply to all of us, not just some of us. To be clear, we will not speak publicly about specific details of what happened under the tent on that rainy and awful day. There's an active investigation that everyone involved wants to be full and fair. We believe in the legal process, and that is where the truth will come out. To the family who experienced the loss, my heart truly goes out to you. To those who have supported my family, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We ask for your continued support, patience, and prayers as we navigate this difficult process. Thank you.
You heard the mother of Karmelo Anthony, and earlier this morning, anchor Melissa Wilson spoke with Fox 26 legal analyst Chris Tritico about the self-defense argument here and the bond given to Karmelo Anthony.
What is your thought when you hear something like this, that his bond was lowered?
Well, it was probably the right thing to do. Under Texas law, the judge looks at several factors, the prior criminal history of the defendant, his ties to the community and things like that. And when the judge looked at those factors in this case, they all weighed in favor of reducing the bond from $1 million. And the defense asked for $150,000. The judge reduced it to $250,000, put an ankle monitor on, and put him on home confinement. And he has to call in and talk to the bailiff in the courtroom every Friday.
And we heard from his family, and they kept repeatedly saying, look, we have ties to Frisco. He's not a flight risk. Right. He's never done anything wrong before and been in trouble with the law. Did that play into part of it?
All of that. And all of that ties directly to the factors laid out in the Code of Criminal Procedure and case law that says these are the things that the judge looks at in determining what the amount of bond should be. Bond under the 8th Amendment, bond cannot be used as an instrument of oppression. In other words, we can't make it so high that the defendant can never get out of jail.
One thing that's come out of all of this is we found out in the very beginning that Anthony asked officers, can I be in trouble because I feel like this was self-defense? And he asked them, could this be self-defense? What do we know about this? We understand it was a seating issue, a misunderstanding. What have you found out about it? So
he was at a high school track meet, and at a high school track meet, every team, every high school sets up a tent, and their players sit under their tent during the meet, so they're not just sitting out in the sun. Anthony was in another high school's tent, sitting under the tent, and the victim came in and said, you need to get out of our tent. And Anthony said, put your hands on me and see what happens. And the kid grabbed him to put him out of the tent, and he produced a knife out of his backpack and stabbed him. And so I think that the defense is going to be that when he grabbed him, he had a right at that point to defend himself. Under self-defense, if you feel that your life is in danger or you're about to be hurt, you have the right to use defense, including deadly force, to defend yourself. The question is going to be what amount of force was necessary at that time to defend himself.
Now, is that where the stand your ground law applies?
Correct. In under stand your ground, you have the right to stay right where you are and defend yourself if certain factors are in play. Did you have a legal right to be where you were, and were you in fear of your life?
What about having a weapon on school grounds? That seems to be a problem. Usually at most schools, I don't know, there are all kinds of notifications that you can't have anything. But usually I think it says firearms, not necessarily a knife.
Well, I don't know that a knife was allowed at that time where he was. I don't know that that's going to be necessarily a defeating factor with respect to self-defense. We'll have to wait and see.
All right.
All right. right. Thank you so much, Melissa and Chris, for that insight. As you would imagine, lots more to come from this case. All right, I want to bring things back local here because Jonathan Mejia is working on a story here today. You're going to see the full story at 5. But he's joining me here in studio because we're talking about a Honduran woman who is out of ICE custody today after being accidentally detained by HPD and ICE. So let's bring Jonathan in now to kind of talk about this story. Jonathan, give us the details. What's going on here?
Yeah, so crazy story. This Honduran woman, she lives in Cleveland, and she was driving to work. And while on the way to work, her car goes up in flames. She calls 911 to get help, but to her surprise, she's detained. According to Houston police, there was an order of deportation in the system. ICE comes out and says, hey, that's an error. Please let her go. So she was able to be let go, but it leads to the question that many in the immigrant community have is, okay, we have an emergency. Can we trust local authorities to give us help? So I spoke with her attorney. She talks to us the backstory. You know, this woman, she came to the country seeking asylum. She won her asylum case back in 2018. She fled Honduras because her ex-husband was abusive to her. So that's why she came to the U.S. and she was able to get her asylum and win her asylum. So she came to the country here in the United States, didn't have too many resources or people here. So she was living between home and homes. So when they gave her a court date to present herself, they send it to an address where she's no longer staying. So she obviously misses her court date at that time, and then they order her deported. She hires an attorney. They're able to fix that, and they're able to get that removal, order of deportation dismissed.
How did that order get there, though, on the documents? Did they have any insight into how that happened? Because that's a... you know, most people might consider it that's a pretty big mistake. You know what I mean? For something like did they go into detail about?
Yeah,
how
I asked her immigration attorney if she heard anything from ICE officials, and she says they have not heard anything. And this isn't the only case here that's happening. We're hearing about systemic errors across the country. Obviously, the man from El Salvador who lives in Maryland. I mean, that's one of the bigger national cases. But I mean, it's happening all over.
Huh. Okay. I'm very interested in that story, and that's at 5 o'clock.
5. And then we also hear from Houston Police, the department, and from Mayor John Whitmire. He had made some comments back in January about what the department's role would look like during this new administration. So that's not only at 5, but also 6 p.m. So
okay, you're hearing from everyone involved in that. So I like that, Jonathan. Very well sourced and got everything from start to finish. Look forward to that one at 5 and 6, buddy. I appreciate you. Thank you. All right. Let's get now to, we have a death penalty case that we've been covering for, nearly 4 years now. Let's bring you guys up to speed, give you a little bit of a refresher on this one. So as this trial is set to begin last month, Xavier Davis pleaded guilty at the start of his trial to killing 29-year-old Danyavia Lagway, 35-year-old Gregory Carhe, and their 6-year-old Harmony back in 2021. You see that photo there. It was all part of a robbery attempt. Now the jury still must decide whether he should face life in prison or the death penalty. Jurors have listened to testimony for more than 2 weeks now, with closing arguments happening here this morning. Here's the prosecutor, who painted a picture of a lifelong criminal caught up in a horrible family situation, and she outlined a crime spree nearly 10 years before the murders ever took place. A 2012 armed robbery at a barbershop.
Eventually, he does get out of TYC, about his 19th birthday. He calls his mom, and she dutifully comes to pick him up. And I don't know what's going on with the relationship there. I don't know what happened. I don't know whether they were poor, whether he was abused. But what I do know is the records reflect that every time he calls her, she shows up. Every time. And she takes him home. And within 69 days, he is in Darian O'Neill's barbershop with a gun where there are children, zip-tying a mother. A mother who is doing everything she can to convince her 5-year-old that it's going to be okay. Do you think Danyavia did that? Do you think that she told her kids, just sit on the couch. It'll be okay. This will be over soon. Xavier Davis doesn't stop there. He uses the information that he gets from the O'Neill's barbershop robbery to hunt and stalk the O'Neill family. He goes over to their house. He terrorizes Sharina O'Neill and her girls. He zip ties all 3 of them. No remorse, no regrets. He gets caught, he goes to jail, but he's not there long. Right? He makes bond.
You heard some of that right there. Now, the defense closed in part by walking jurors through just the size and the scope of this decision here and what this would mean. Now, if the jury can't seem to come to an agreement and they can't come to a decision, and with those deliberations here today, well, that will continue Monday, because they're off for, the defense, they're off for Good Friday. So let's listen to the defense now real quick.
It could be that in order for the state to have what they want, that they've worked for all this time, that all 12 of you think that that is true. There isn't any sufficient mitigating circumstance or circumstances. You all could have a different one. If everybody thought there wasn't any, then so be it. He'll be executed. But if any one of you, any 2 of you, or 10 of you say, yeah, I have a reason, they could all be different, then you answer that question, yes, there is. Second question, yes, there is a reason. And the judge will sentence him to life without parole for the rest of his life. Well, that's what will happen. That would be a verdict one way. It would be a verdict the other way, right? 10 of you. What happens? Let's look at the elephant in the room. What happens when 7 say, I don't have any mitigating circumstances that I think is sufficient to warrant a life sentence? And other people do, 5 do, or 3 do, or 2 or 1. Here we are back at that point right there. Can those people take that away from you? Do you have to live with what someone else thinks? No. We can't reach a verdict. So what? Judge told you on voir dire. There's nothing improper about that. Nothing. It's as good as a verdict one way. It's as good as a verdict the other way. Because all this process is can all 12 people unanimously agree? And if they don't, they don't. Talk some more. Talk about it. But I tell you what, it belongs to you, and it belongs to you for a reason. It's not, it's not a weighing out how many feel the other way or how many the other way. Oh my God, we're not going to get a verdict. That's not how this works.
All right. So now if the jury they can't deliberate and come to a conclusion on a verdict here today, they're going to be back on Monday because tomorrow being Good Friday. So they'll be off for that. But we'll have much more on what happened inside of that courtroom, though. Our Jade Fleury is there. She's going to bring us a live report today at 5 and 6. All right, when we return, so April is Organ Donor Awareness Month, and our health reporter, Melissa Wilson, talks to nurse Dominique Villerin, the liver transplant coordinator at Texas Children's Hospital, about everything you should know to consider being a donor. We'll be right back.
April marks National Donate Life Month, a time to highlight the incredible medical professionals who make organ donation a reality. One of those people is liver transplant coordinator from Texas Children's Hospital. I'm talking about Dominique Villerin. Welcome to Houston's Morning Show.
Thank you for having me.
What an amazing calling you have to do this job. Can you tell us what that looks like, what your day in, day out is like?
As a transplant coordinator, we walk the families through the whole process. We're there with them pre-transplant, during transplant, and post-transplant. I mean, we really become part of their family. We're there with them through the tough times. We're there with them when we actually are the ones that call them when they get an organ donor.
So what an emotional roller coaster, I'm sure, right? And I've interviewed so many of these families, and they have that moment of being so very thankful for the organ, mournful for the family who's lost, thankful for that family. I mean, I'm sure you go through all those emotions with them.
Yeah, we do. I mean, you know, it's tough for these families because a lot of them are seeing their children get sicker while waiting on the transplant list, but they all know that a person needs to die for them to get an organ. So it's a lot of emotions for them, and we're really there for them throughout that whole process.
Yeah, well, kudos to you for doing that, because it's a big job. Why is this month so important to you?
Well, I mean, you know, Organ Donation Month is important because organ donors are so important for our patients. It gives them a second chance at life. And without the organ donors, you know, a lot of these patients don't get to see elementary school, middle school, college. Some of them can't even, you know, they can't have a chance at a family. So our organ donors are really important for them to go through these milestones.
And I have seen so many moments of, and I know you probably have too as well, of interviewing someone who lost their loved one. They gave the donation, and maybe I get to be there for the first time when the mom says, I want to hear my